Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all keeping safe and well. Welcome back to this transfer special with Tom White from Sky Sports News. Tom, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Of course, it is day 22 of the transfer window. No signings for Tottenham Hotspur as yet, Tom. We're hoping that you're going to bring us some good news and hoping we can try and get Adama Traore over the line in the next couple of days. Do you have any news on that one?
Well, that one is very close. A lot of people are saying that it's pretty much done. I think it's just a case of there's really not much now in between the two clubs in terms of the transfer fee. And once that's sorted, and it should get sorted, wages are no problem. So I think he will be a Tottenham player, I think, in the next few days.
Tom, are you surprised that if it is that close, that he has actually travelled down to Brentford today?
I didn't know that he had travelled down to Brentford today, but listening to Bruno Lage yesterday, he was quite clever when he said, well, hold on, Tottenham were pretty strong in their stance of Harry Kane when they didn't want to sell him. So why shouldn't we be strong in our stance that we don't want to sell Traore? So you've got to pay what we want for him. So I think it's probably quite a shrewd move from Lage to do that, from Wolves to do that, just to say, you've got to end up matching this valuation, or at least give us a little bit more than what you're offering, because otherwise we're going to play him.
Tom, what sort of fee do you think that Tottenham will end up paying for Traore?
Well, I think because Wolves wanted 25, Tottenham wanted to pay 15. I think the obvious thing there would be to say, well, let's settle on 20. I think it's going to be more like 22. I would say. I think it's going to go slightly more in Wolves' favour than it will in Tottenham's. But still, £22 million for Adama Traore, if that does end up being the fee. And remember that they're always undisclosed. There'll be no way of proving what's right. Wolves will say it's 25. Tottenham will probably say, well, in fact, Daniel Levy will probably say it was 50 pence. But I think it'll be somewhere in the region of 22. And I would say that Tottenham would be pretty happy with that fee. Tottenham fans would be anyway.
Tom, if Tottenham do get this signing over the line, what do you think that he will bring to Spurs? What do you think his main strengths are?
Well, it looks like he wants Conte wants to play him at right wing back, which is interesting because no one's ever seen him as a wing back apart from Conte. Because when Traore was at Middlesbrough, and Conte was at Chelsea, Conte tried to sign him from Middlesbrough as a right wing back. He was playing Victor Moses there, who was a winger. He put him at right back and he was doing well. He wanted Traore to do the same job, to play right wing back for Chelsea. So he's the only one who sees him in that position. So it's quite difficult to say what he'll bring in that position. We know how quick he is. All right. So that'll, pace will always help any team. We know he's going to be better at going forwards than he is defending. If it ends up that he can't defend very well, I don't think anyone can have a real go at him because he's never been a defender. But he will certainly help you in attack. I think Emerson Royal, at the moment when he plays right wing back, doesn't help you so much when he's going forward. Traore will definitely improve in that department. I do worry that he might, whoever's playing on the right-hand side of the back three, I do worry that he might not help him so much.
Tom, there are a fair few Tottenham Hotspur fans at the moment. I know a lot of people are excited about this possible move for Traore, but there are quite a lot of people saying that Traore lacks the end product. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the statistics do back that up. He doesn't get as many assists or goals as I think anyone would have expected his career to have gone. I think when he was at Barcelona, he was seen as a bit of a wonder kid. Villa didn't work out for him, and he's kind of really found himself as a star at Wolves. But the stats don't suggest it. But the work that he does, he's so hardworking. He is very clever, by the way. He gets to the edge of the box, and he will kind of stop and have a little look around. He is a clever player. But for some reason, that hasn't turned into goals and assists. So, but then again, if he's playing right wing back, Conte clearly isn't buying him for goals and assists anyway. Well, assists may be, but not goals. So, end product in that position, I'm not really sure if that's actually what Conte is looking for him. I think if that's where he wants to play him, I think he probably sees him more as someone to bring a little bit more energy, and he can take two. If when he goes on the attack, he can take two defenders out of the game just by shrugging them off and getting past them, and that creates space for Kane, for Son, anyone else who's played in those two positions behind Kane. It creates space for them as well. So I actually think it will work out, but I can't sit here and say that all those statistics about the lack of goals and assists is wrong, because it's there in black and white.
Tom, your role at Sky Sports, tell me what it's like during the January transfer window. It must be a very busy period for all of you.
Brilliant. I love it. When we do the transfer, we do good morning transfers and transfer talk. So one's at 9 a.m, one is at midday, apart from on a Monday when it's 1 p.m. And it's just brilliant. We all love it. The whole transfer team really, really enjoy it. In this window, there hasn't been that many transfers. That happens, but there's still so much to talk about. The fact that Tottenham haven't signed anyone yet, and they've brought in this world-class manager who hasn't signed anyone yet, is a big talking point. The fact that they've made some pretty high-profile players available for transfer, like Dele Alli, like Ndombele, amongst others, that is a talking point. Newcastle wanting every single player is a talking point. There's so much, and it is better when there's transfers happening left, right, and centre. Like in the summer, although this transfer didn't happen, the fact that Man City wanted Harry Kane was just magic. I mean, everybody wanted to know the latest. Everybody wanted to talk about it. Everybody was tuning in. Everybody was tweeting us, giving us their opinions. There was Kane. There was Grealish. There was all sorts that could have happened. Haaland was something that everyone was expecting to happen. Mbappe could have moved last summer as well. So all these transfer windows, that's always my favourite time, because that's when Sky Sports News really comes up, comes into their own. Because also you might get reports elsewhere. People might beat Sky to a story, right? And that's absolutely fine. Well done. But people don't tend to believe it until it is reported, until it's on that breaking news on Sky. And the reason for that is because we are very, very thorough. I might get a phone call from someone, a manager, a coach, a player, an agent, and I think, well, that's a big story, right? I could tweet it, okay? But out of courtesy, really, you should be ringing both clubs involved. There's likely to be two clubs involved in this, all right? I mean, it could be a free agent, of course, then it's only one club involved. You got to ring those clubs and say, right, we are going to report this. Now, that club can either say, okay, it's true, brilliant, we've gone for it. They might say no comment. If you really back your source, then you report the story. If the club say, look, that is just absolutely not true, then you've got a difficult decision to make. But my point is, that takes a little bit of time, which means that sometimes Sky aren't first with the story. Sometimes we're not first with the story. But when we report a story, it is fact, it's true, it's been checked. And it's just, it's so great to be a part of that process. And transfer windows, I think it's everybody's favourite time when you work where I do.
Well, I know it must be very busy, so thanks so much for taking the time to do this. But I want to talk a little bit about Harry Kane later on. But just firstly, wanted your opinion on Antonio Conte's season so far at Spurs, because, of course, in the Premier League, we have played 9 games under him, unbeaten at the moment, 6 wins, 3 draws. He has transformed this team. I know he's got limitations within his squad, but he seems to be getting the best out of a lot of these players at the moment.
He is. He'll be working them hard in training. He's got very clear views as to what he wants. So it's like, so he'll go at the training pitch, he'll say to every player, he'll say, that's what I want from you, okay? This is what you need to work on in training, right? Either do it or you can go. So every player will go out onto that pitch, and this is the sign of an excellent manager or a head coach. Every single player will go out onto that pitch and they will know exactly what their job is. Right, and if that's the case, the cohesion in the team is going to be strong straight away. All right, And he's clearly got that already. He is a world-class manager. He has started well at Tottenham, especially given that this isn't his squad either. Let me just turn this fan off. It might be in the... 1 second. Just realised that was making quite a lot of noise. That might be better now. And this isn't his squad, and he is getting the best out of it. And look, there are lots of managers that do that, but it's no surprise to me that Conte's done that straight away. And when I say that it's not his squad, I think there'd be quite a lot of changes that he will want to make. He wasn't going to be able to do them all in January, and every manager says they need 3 transfer windows. I've got a feeling that Conte will want to do it in 2. I think he will want to get to not even the end of August. I think he'll want to get to the start of next season with a squad where he says, right, this is my squad. I've got rid of everybody who I don't like and don't trust. And I've got a squad of players now who are my players. And now we are ready to really threaten those clubs at the very top of the league.
Tom, is that realistic in your opinion?
Yes, I think it is. It'll be hard. He's clearly got players there now that he wants rid of. That's a bit harsh to say wants rid of, but he wants replacing this window. The hardest thing is to get players out than get them in. Okay, it's harder because you need to find a buyer. You need to find a buyer who's going to pay the money that Daniel Levy and Paratici want. You might have to subsidise their wages, and Levy and Paratici might not want to subsidise the wages. That's the hardest thing. If he can sell the players that he wants rid of, if he can get some away now and the rest away in the summer, then replacing them with players he wants, honestly, that is easier to do that. So realistic, yes, but very difficult too.
Tom, what is the definition of Antonio Conte being backed at Tottenham Hotspur? Because surely, he is a serial winner. He's a world-class manager, as you said. All of us Spurs fans are super excited and are very excited when he was appointed. But backing Antonio Conte, we know that he will want the big prizes. We know that he will want to be in the Champions League. We know that he will be wanting to win the Premier League and be putting trophies in the cabinet. Is this realistic? And what is the definition of backing Conte?
Well, when it comes to Tottenham, right, you think, right, Conte is quality manager, like one of the best around. I don't think anyone can argue against that, really. And people think, oh, why has he gone to Tottenham? They don't win that much. They're not always in the Champions League. They don't. It's quite rare that they really challenge for the Premier League title. So why has Conte gone there? Right. If the board can give the manager no excuse whatsoever to not succeed, right? If you can give that manager everything possible to succeed, the manager can't complain, right? And Conte will think, right, have we got the stadium? Yes. Have we got absolutely everything at that training facility that these players can possibly need to be the best that they can be? Yes. Right. Has he got a squad where... Has he got some world-class players as a starting point in his team? Yes, he does, right? The rest is now down to Conte. But, and a big but, and something you'll have thought of straight away, is he going to be given the funds to get his squad up to scratch? Well, that's a question I can't answer. The fact that Daniel Levy has brought in a director of football in Paratici who can help Conte with that, okay, that's a good start, all right? Because as long as those two can work together, Conte and Paratici, then that will help. But in terms of getting the funds, he'll be told he's got to raise some funds, which is probably why your record signing is available for transfer, probably why Dele Alli is available for transfer, Matt Doherty as well. I've got a feeling that Steven Bergwijn isn't available for transfer anymore. And that's when you say the definition of the backing, he will have everything. I can't say whether he'll get the funds. That's the problem.
Tom, when we talk about players that have improved under Conte so far, players like Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, Harry Winks, Sanchez, Steven Bergwijn, Most of those players would have probably been on most Tottenham fans' list to offload in this window or the next window. Do you think that's still the case of any of those players that I mentioned?
Well, it looks like Bergwijn is no longer available. See, from what we gather, the 4 players available were Alli, Bergwijn, Doherty, and Ndombele, and we still think that Doherty is available despite playing very well the other night. We think there's only Bergwijn that isn't now. The rest of the ones, did you say? Who else did you say? Sanchez,
Ben Davies, Eric Dyer.
Yeah. So there's a back 3 there. And I was looking at your squad last night, right? Now, in goal you've got Lloris and Galini. Yeah. Now, Lloris signed a new contract. That was the right thing to do. I wouldn't have panicked if he hadn't, by the way, because Sam Johnson's free at the end of the season. If Burnley go down, Nick Pope won't cost a lot. And you could still go for them anyway to replace Lloris, but that was the right thing to do. But there, you just named 3 centre-backs there. If you're going to play 3 at the back in your squad, you probably need 5, okay? Now, you've got those 3 you've just said, plus Rodon, Tanganga, and you said Sanchez, Dyer, Davies. Because Davies doesn't play left wing back anymore, does he? He plays as part of back 3.
Yeah, back 3, yeah.
So those 3, Rodon, Tanganga, I'm missing a set. Oh, Romero. Okay. So you've currently got 6 centre-backs. I think you only need 5, but you've got 6. Rodon's available. Yeah, sorry, when I said 4 players, Rodon is available. And Tanganga could go out on loan. That leaves 4. I think Conte actually wants, if those 2 go, I think he wants another centre-back, right? But he seems to be happy enough with those 3 that you mentioned. And he is a master, Conte, in how to coach a back 3. So he will have been teaching those 3 how to play in a back 3. That's where I think you've seen the improvement. I think you've seen the improvement purely from him working with them on the training ground, just like Sam Allardyce does with every club he goes to. He tells them, it's like he starts from scratch. He's so good at teaching defenders how to defend, and so is Conte. It doesn't surprise me that those 3 have improved. Long term, he might want to replace them all. But right now he's thinking, right, I like those 3. He won't have seen enough of Romero as yet. And he's thinking, right, Rodon, not keen on. Tanganga maybe needs some first team football so they can go out either on loan or in Rodon's case, maybe even permanently. But it isn't a surprise that they've improved because he knows exactly how to get the best out of the back 3.
Would you expect Harry Winks to stay in this window as well?
Well, I hope so, because I really like him. Because I was looking at you sort of, if you play 3 at the back and your wing backs, Tottenham tend to have 2 deeper midfielders and then 2 playing off the striker. Is that right?
Yeah.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at your deeper midfielders, you've got Højbjerg, who's been a much better signing than I expected him to be. You've got Winks, you've got Skip, and Ndombele can kind of do both. But if you think of those 4, Ndombele is available, those 3, and the fact that Dyer can play there at a push means that you're probably okay in that department as long as he does like Winks. If he decides he doesn't like Winks and Winks is to go, then he would then need to replace him. I think for now, he'll be happy with Skip, Winks and Højbjerg as the deeper midfielder. In the squad, by the way, I know he only plays with 2. I think he's happy to let Ndombele go and not replace him because he's got those 3. And if that's the case, Winks will definitely be staying. And I hope he does, because I like him.
Tom, of course, there's 9 days left of this transfer window. Many reports have come out in the last week or so stating that Spurs need to offload players first before we bring in players. Is there any truth in that?
Well, it makes sense. And if you look at how as journalists, we know which players are available that Conte wants to sell, and we haven't been talking that much about incomings. That, to me, you put 2 and 2 together, and I think it's probably true. But that is nothing to be worried about because it's the same for almost every club. If you look, same for Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool won the league a couple of seasons ago, and even when they spent huge money on Van Dijk and Alisson, the combined costs of that only added up to what they got for Coutinho. Even before the pandemic, Liverpool were only spending what they earned in transfer fees. So I would say that it is true, but I don't think, I mean, if you take away Newcastle, probably Man City, maybe Chelsea, I think every club's the same. I think every club is, you've got to sell to buy.
How hard is it to sign players in this January transfer window, Tom? Because, of course, many Spurs fans and many football fans, across the country just say, "We'll go out and buy him, go and buy him." But how difficult is it to buy in January?
It depends, because when a new manager comes in, there's always players who are surplus to requirements. It's normally quite easy to get those players, right? As in, the two clubs can find an agreement. The problem is if the player doesn't want to leave. Right, that's the thing. If a player's surplus requirement at a big club, it's unlikely he's going to get he's going to get the same amount of money at some club smaller down the ladder, and that's where the problem comes in. And also, from a human point of view, a lot of these players are like, I don't want to leave mid-season. In the summer, you've got the whole summer to move house, even move country in some cases. In January, it's like, well, I don't want to move now. I mean, maybe go out on loan, but I don't want all the upheaval. I don't want my kids to have to move school in this term. I don't mind them moving school in the summer and such like. There's that element that makes it harder as well. But in terms of making it hard to sign players in January, that's only one element to it. If both clubs want the deal to happen and the player's keen, it's not difficult at any time of year if that's the case. One of the issues with January is the transfer window is shorter. It's only a month. In the summer, you've got the whole summer. In the summer, you've got contracts that are have expired. Sorry, in January you don't. So it is a little bit harder, but it's been proven over the years. It's not impossible to get the player you really want in January.
Yeah, very difficult. Tom, you mentioned Tanguy Ndombele. He's on £200,000 a week. Is there any truth in him possibly going to PSG under Mauricio Pochettino?
It's not PSG that I've heard. It is. First of all, there was Italian clubs. I think it might have been AC Milan. Now, Italian clubs have no money, right? Not even in the past. Juventus always had money, and Inter Milan at first, when they had new owners, they were really paying high wages and spending a lot of money. They don't anymore. No one in Italy has that money. So there was no way that was going to happen. As for PSG, there is truth in that. They are in talks, but I don't know whether anything will come from that, purely because PSG, people say that financial fair play is a farce, and to a certain extent it is, but PSG are actually really trying to stick to the rules now. Adding a player who costs Tottenham a record fee, and if he's on £200,000 a week, like you say, adding an extra £200,000 to their wage bill, that doesn't help, not unless they offload a few first. So if they offload a few, maybe, but I don't see it happening otherwise.
Is it the case then, Tom, that if Tanguy Ndombele does go out, it looks like it's going to be a loan in this month? Do you think that Tottenham will carry on paying most of those wages, if not all of it?
If it's a loan, not necessarily. If there's no fee involved and he just says, right, it's a straight loan, there's not even a loan fee. Yes, that could happen. But why would Tottenham allow that? When he costed that amount of money, what they'll want is a loan fee and at least an option to buy, if not a mandatory fee in the summer. And that's hard as well, because no one knows if they're going to have enough money in the summer to do it, which is why actually I think he'll end up staying, unless Tottenham do allow a straight loan. If they really need his wages, if Conte says to Paratici, I'm never going to play him, right? So you can spend £200,000 a week on a player I am never, ever going to play, or you can just take the straight loan and we can use those £200,000 on bringing in a loan, or stack up that money for the summer. That might happen, but I think that would be last minute, because Tottenham will want a fee. Look at how much he cost in the first place.
So you think there's a possibility of we see him in a Tottenham shirt again?
If Conte, if it gets to February and he hasn't gone, Conte's got to make a decision. Right, I'm paying this player. I'm going to play this player. I have to. So that there is that possibility, but it depends what Conte is saying to Paratici. If Conte is saying, I am not going to play him, then Tottenham need to do everything they can to get rid of him.
Tom, another player I want to talk about, and that's Dele Alli. Of course, we've seen lots of rumours and reports about him possibly going to Newcastle and other clubs. PSG, of course, a year or so ago, Pochettino was interested. When I think of Dele Alli, I think of that wonderful goal at Selhurst Park against Palace. I think of the goals for Spurs against Chelsea at White Hart Lane, the goals at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. He's a shadow of that player. What do you see? What does the future hold for Dele Alli?
When he at the start of this season, and Nuno was picking him, wasn't he, at the start of the season?
Yeah.
And I thought, brilliant. A run of games for Dele Alli. Everyone knows how good he can be. He's going to be, Dele Alli's going to be back. But he wasn't back. And I just don't know why, because everybody knows how good he is. And sometimes I question, and I don't know this, I've never met him personally. Sometimes you wonder because some footballers fall out of love with football for whatever reason, all right? And it's fine, it happens in every job. You can fall out of love with your profession. And I wonder if that's happened to Dele Alli, because I don't see, when he was at his best, he was always smiling. He was celebrating his goals. He was celebrating as a team. He was delighted if Tottenham had won, delighted if he had played well, giving his all for his country as well. And I don't see that anymore. And when I think about Dele Alli now, I think, right, I really hope he can get back to that. I think it might have to be a different club. It might have to be a fresh start. So I think his days at Tottenham are probably nearly done if Tottenham can find someone who wants him, and clubs will want him. I think he can still be a star. I just don't think it's going to be in a Tottenham shirt.
Would it be fair to say, Tom, that on Ndombele and Dele, Antonio Conte probably sees them two as quite lazy players, because Conte always demands and expects the best, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm not. See, I don't think Dele Alli is lazy. I think Dele Alli.
The reason why I said that is because in the Amazon documentary, Jose Mourinho come out and said to Dele that he was a lazy trainer, and it just seems that losing his way. As you say, used to play for England and used to be banging in goals for Spurs, having that smile on his face. It just doesn't seem to be that same guy anymore.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I've never seen him in training, but in matches, although he doesn't sprint around the pitch, it's all about his movement. He seems to find space and then take a touch, look up while he's taking a touch and find the right pass and make the right runs when he has to. And that's just the type of player he is. Not every player can be box to box. And so if he's not putting it in training, then Conte won't have that. There's absolutely no doubt Conte will not allow that. Just like Mourinho wouldn't allow that. And by all accounts, Mourinho really worked hard on Ndombele. And when I've seen Ndombele play, sometimes I've thought, that guy is class.
Yeah.
I know you won't want him to be likened to a Chelsea player, but at times I've looked at him and thought, that's Michael Essien, the way he plays. He's absolutely... But against Newcastle away, when he scored, he didn't just score a brilliant goal, he was really, really good. And I was thinking, right, okay, this is the player that Tottenham signed. But he doesn't do it enough. And rather than calling Ndombele lazy, I would probably say it's more inconsistent. Now, if you're going to be in that position, you can have an inconsistent winger. You can have an inconsistent striker. You can have an inconsistent number 10. You cannot have an inconsistent player who's going to be... Because he doesn't really put Ndombele behind the striker, does he? He tends to play him in... Is it right that he'd play him in one of the two deeper ones? Would he normally put him there?
He would, yeah. Yeah.
In that position.
I think that's why all of us are so frustrated, Tom. Like you said, you see like a moment of genius from Ndombele, and then he seems to just go missing. for 50, 60 minutes of a game, and then you'll suddenly see him again. It is very frustrating, especially as you said, he's our record signing. Another player.
You can't be inconsistent in that position. That position, ideally in that position, you boss a game, right? But if there's two of them in there and you're 7 out of 10s every week, chances are you are going to be solid in that position. You cannot have inconsistencies if you're going to be one of those deeper midfielders.
Tom, another player I want to talk about is midfielder Giovani Lo Celso. He's had a very mixed time at Spurs since he arrived. Any chance of him being sold?
I get the impression that Conte isn't mega keen on him. I actually got the impression that Mourinho wasn't that keen on him, but he felt that he needed to sign someone, and they had that. It was an option to buy, not an obligation, and they still did it. I think there is a chance that he could go. He's not on the list of names that we've been given as players who are available, and the fact is that the place where you are the most well stocked is behind Harry Kane, right? Because you've got Lo Celso, Heel, Son, Bergwijn, Mora, Ali. Okay, Ali's available. Bergwijn was linked with a move away. If Kane's injured, Son goes up front, and you've still got 3 there for 2 positions, right? Including Lo Celso. However, with Bergwijn staying, does that make Lo Celso's future, does it put it in more doubt? So to answer your question simply, I think, yes, there is a chance he could go, but I have heard nothing. And it's quite interesting that we've heard nothing on that one, actually, because he's still highly rated out in Spain. I wonder if it's just because, what did you pay in the end? 30 million? Was it about that?
I think it was more than that. It was a lot more than that.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I was going to say you'll get nothing like 30 million. So if it was a lot more than that, maybe Tottenham, like a lot of other clubs, will think, right, let's keep this guy for a while, hope he comes good. Then when we do go to sell him, maybe he'll be worth more money and we can recoup some more of that money. So it's another tough one. It's actually it's not too dissimilar to the Ndombele situation, by the way. But Ndombele, you're not as well stocked in that position as you are in the position that Lo Celso plays. So I actually think that Bergwijn playing so well the other night cast more doubt on Lo Celso's future.
It's mad though, Tom, isn't it, to think that between Lo Celso and Ndombele, Spurs paid nearly £100 million for the two of them, and we're just not we're not seeing that quality at all. One player you mentioned, Steven Bergwijn, you're saying that he will now stay at the club. Ajax put in an official bid last week; it was rejected. If Ajax come back with an improved offer, you don't think Tottenham will take it?
What we're hearing now is that Conte sees Bergwijn. He's always liked Bergwijn, and actually he thinks he can play as a striker. Now that saves money because every single window, Tottenham needs someone who's going to have a chance with, who's going to battle with Harry Kane for that out striker role, or fill in for Kane when he's out. Well, everyone knows that Son can do it if Kane is out. And if Conte is saying that Bergwijn can do it, that means you don't have to buy a striker. And if he does want to bring in a centre-back or a central midfielder or something else, then actually that saves some money to spend in those positions instead. So I think he wants to keep Bergwijn now. And Ajax's bid was only £15 million. Ajax don't have mega money to spend. If they were going to improve on £15 million, I don't think they'd be going higher than 20.
Yeah.
So I think Bergwijn will be staying, and I think that Conte will be quite relaxed about that because I think he'll stay and I think he'll play.
Another player being linked with a move away, as you mentioned, Matt Doherty. Any chance of him leaving in this window? Any clubs interested?
Yeah, I think he will go. I think he will go. Yes. At first, we thought he might be part of the Adama Traore deal because Traore is coming to replace him, and Doherty was very, very good at Wolves. That's not true. Wolves are not in for him. I think once the Traore deal is confirmed, I would expect Doherty to move on. Don't know where just yet. The one thing that could keep him there is Ryan Sessegnon injured.
He's okay at the moment, and he's had so many injury problems. Of course, he come back, he played well, and then he got injured again, out for a couple of weeks. So it's not a long-term injury, no.
Right, because at left wing back, you don't need to go spending any money at left wing back because Reguilon is going to be your first choice, whoever you sign. As long as Conte thinks that Sessegnon's okay, then that's all right. Even if he doesn't massively rate Sessegnon, I don't think he needs to replace him now. He can be the understudy to Reguilon. Now, if Sessegnon, when you say that about Sessegnon's injuries, he has played Doherty left wing back as well, hasn't he? Which is not ideal, definitely not. But if he thinks he can play there and Sessegnon keeps getting injured, he might not be in as much of a hurry to sell him as first thought. However, he is available, and I do think that he'll go. And he won't cost huge money to the club, to any club that's buying him. That's something that could easily be a loan with an obligation to buy when clubs have a little bit more in the summer. I think Doherty will go, and I think he'll stay in the Premier League.
Tom, someone else you mentioned about possibly leaving in this window, Joe Rodon. Any clubs interested in him?
Well, Newcastle were, because it was going to be Newcastle, their centre-backs. I can't believe that they didn't target centre-backs straight away at the start of the window. Well, I mean, that's unfair, okay, because they did target Botman immediately. Sven Botman. Rodon is one that they know they can have. They know they can have him on a straight loan from Tottenham. He'll not be on high wages. He is on their shortlist, but he's quite low down on that shortlist. Oh. Now, there's other interest in the Premier League from Rodon. Even if he doesn't go to another Premier League club, I think he might even go out on loan to the Championship. But again, with Rodon, I expect it to be a loan rather than a permanent signing. And I think that Tanganga, the good thing is with Tanganga, I'm good friends with his agent, who is a guy called Roberto De Fanti, who he was director of football at Sunderland, which is how I got to know him. And he's on Transfer Talk 1 p.m. this Monday, actually. He's a guest with us. And we're going to ask him about what the latest is with Tanganga. And he's so honest, he'll tell us. I think Tanganga will go out on loan. I think Rodon will as well. And if that happens, I honestly think that you will need a centre-back. And I think Conte will be able to bring one in. So Rodon, yes. And Tanganga, Tanganga is closer to leaving than Rodon.
Okay. Tom, as well as Tottenham trying to sign Adama Traore, so many names have been linked. Christian Eriksen. What's the latest on Christian Eriksen? Could it be possible that Spurs could bring Christian Eriksen back? And could it be possible, even if he didn't sign for Spurs, that he would return to the Premier League?
Eriksen will return to the Premier League. I don't think it's going to be Tottenham, personally. I think it's going to be Brentford. Brentford are the front runners for quite a few reasons. Thomas Frank has managed him before, although I mean, Conte has as well, in fairness, but Thomas Frank has managed him before. There's a big Danish connection at Brentford. It's still in London, where he very much enjoyed living. I know Tottenham is as well, but Tottenham, you're well stocked. Like I said, in that department, you are well stocked. Quite interestingly, on Eriksen, a lot of people are saying, yeah, no, but, would he pass a medical and such like?
Yeah.
We phoned our transfer team, did some research on this, and we phoned around and spoke to some Premier League doctors. And it was really interesting what they said. There was, we don't know what caused the cardiac arrest. There are a few things that could have happened. But interestingly, what they said is there's no reason why he can't continue playing, right? But it's completely up to him. There's a few insurance issues that would need to be sorted between him and the club. But one possible issue is, in a very high temperature, he wouldn't be able to play. He wouldn't be able to go on a pre-season training camp in really hot temperatures. He wouldn't be able to do it, okay? Okay. It's completely up to him whether he plays again. It was exactly the same thing was offered to Fabrice Muamba. Fabrice Muamba chose not to play on. Eriksen is choosing to play on. Now, it would be, in terms of from a footballing perspective, he's on a free transfer. It would be low risk for any club. That's why a lot of Premier League clubs are interested, but they want to speak to him and say, are you sure? Are you comfortable about this? Okay, because from a human point of view, I mean, I remember watching that game from this exact seat I was sitting in, and I was almost crying. I was thinking, and I was praying for him. And the clubs are saying, are you sure you're okay? He's saying yes. So he will come back to the Premier League. It's going to be for free. From a footballing point of view, it's low risk. But I don't think it's going to be Tottenham. I think it's going to be Brentford.
Are you surprised there's not a lot more interest in Eriksen, though, Tom? Because particularly as he's on a free transfer, or is it just because of the medical reasons?
There is a lot of interest. That's the thing. There is a lot, and it is main. It's not just from the Premier League, but it's mainly from the Premier League. But it's not the level. Had he not suffered that cardiac arrest, and he was available on a free now, you'd imagine him signing for a club in the Champions League, or a club pushing for the Champions League. Probably Tottenham, to be honest, right? But that did happen. And I think clubs are worried that he's not quite going to be at that level. And we won't know until he plays. And I think people are worried about his health from a human point of view as well. But there is actually a lot of interest, a lot. But I do think it's going to be Brentford.
Tom, if I was to ask you for a prediction of how many players will leave Spurs in this window in the next 9 days, and how many players Tottenham will bring in, what would you say?
Rodon on loan, Tanganga on loan, Doherty either permanent or with an optional obligation to buy. I'm not as confident that Ali will go. I'm not confident Ndombele will go.
Wow.
And I think Bergwijn will stay. I wouldn't, you know what? In my mind, I can't help thinking that Bryan Gil might go out on loan, you know. He's not fancied. It depends whether Paratici says to Conte, look, that was a big investment in the summer. You've got to try to fit him in. You've got to give him a chance. So I'm actually only going to say 3 to go. And there's not a lot of money coming in for those.
It's funny, Tom, isn't it? Because Emerson Royale, who of course now Tottenham are thinking of replacing, was bought at the start of this season. And of course, as you just mentioned, Bryan Gil bought at the start of this season. They've got to fit in somehow, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think although he'll want to start Emerson Traore at right wing back, Emerson will play enough. I think Emerson will play enough. And it takes time to settle in the Premier League. And I think throughout the season, I think he'll keep improving. I wouldn't write him off just yet. I'm also not writing off Bryan Gil. I just don't expect him to get very many minutes. So that's the one that's a bit of a wild card in terms of players leaving. I would say him. But again, it would only be on loan because Paratici will be saying, no, this was a long-term signing. So if he's going to go, it's going to have to be on loan because Paratici his signings have to be a success. He's only come in the summer. Yeah. And recruitment's been poor for a while at Tottenham. Not all been bad signings, definitely not. But recruitment has been one of the criticisms aimed at Tottenham. So he's been brought in to get it right. And if he doesn't get it right with Bryan Gil and Emerson Royal, that doesn't look good on him on his first transfer window.
Tom, how many players do you think that Spurs will sign in the next 9 days?
Well, if Rodon and Tanganga go, I think you'll have to bring in a centre back. And I know you're not. I don't think you're even really linked with anyone as yet at centre back. But I think he will. I think he will bring in a centre back. Traore, I expect that one to happen. I expect it to happen soon. Well, it has to happen soon because there's only a few days left. There's only just over a week left in the transfer window. I think that might be it.
Okay. Another player that we keep being linked with, Frank Kessie. Could Tottenham get this deal done in the summer?
Summer, your favourites to sign him in the summer. All right, that's a one that I do have a bit of inside information on. You really want him. He's keen on it. Your biggest problem is that there's so many. There's a lot of competition. That's the problem. But you were the first ones in for him. You're the ones who are trying the hardest. and he is keen. If I was to make a prediction now, I think that you will get him in the summer, and I think it'll be a brilliant signing. That's a good one. Remember that in the summer, I cannot believe the amount of quality that's available on a free at the end of the season. It's amazing. And that's another thing that's slowing things up in this transfer window, is that a lot of clubs are saying, well, we could go and sign, we could go and pay £30 million on that striker, or we could try to get Paulo Dybala for free in the summer. Yeah. And the real top clubs are thinking, well, we could spend X amount on a striker, but we know that Haaland's available for 65 million in the summer. We know that Dusan Vlahovic will only have 1 year left in his contract in the summer. And so people are kind of delaying a lot of their transfer business because of the amount of players who are available for free at the end of the season. And that includes Frank Kessie.
Is it, will it be the difference, Tom, if Tottenham are in the Champions League or not with some of these targets?
Yes, because you'll have more money, because you'll be able to, you'll know that being in the Champions League will bring in so much extra revenue throughout the year. Your transfer budget and wage budget will go up. So yes, in that regard. Yes, in the case that a lot of players are obsessed with it and will not sign for a club that is not in the Champions League. But it's not the be-all and end-all. Some very, very big players have gone to clubs who have not been in the Champions League. So it's not like, all right, that's it. All of our plans are ripped up because we're not in the Champions League. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it will definitely help.
Tom, a player you just mentioned, Dusan Vlahovic. Do you think that Tottenham have a good chance in signing him in the summer? Because when I think back, the last striker that Spurs signed on a permanent deal was back in 2017, Fernando Llorente. Of course, we had Carlos Vinicius on loan last season, but you know, we always say, all of us Spurs fans, every transfer window say, surely we've got to sign a striker in this window.
Well, it would mean you'd have to change your formation, because Vlahovic and Kane would have to play together, although Kane does naturally drop off these days. So rather than having one striker and two behind, you'd have to have one behind and two strikers. But like I say, if Kane drops off, that would work. So in terms of, do you have a chance of signing? You do have a chance of signing him. There is also a chance, and it's a lot stronger chance than you would like, that he might end up at Arsenal this window. If he doesn't end up at Arsenal, or anyone else for that matter, this window, I've actually got a feeling that it will be Man City in the summer, because I don't think that they're going to get Haaland either. I think Haaland is going to end up, this is going to surprise you to a certain extent, I think Haaland will end up at Real Madrid. I think Vlahovic will end up at Manchester City, unless Arsenal can get him this window. And that's not as far away as you think.
I thought that Vlahovic's agents weren't taking Arsenal's calls, Tom, or was that just a rumour?
Well, Vlahovic's agent is not as keen on Arsenal as Vlahovic is. And Fiorentina, they know that his price goes down in the summer, because at the moment he's got 18 months left in his contract. In the summer, there's 12. So you've got the player who's open to it, Fiorentina, who would prefer the extra money, Arsenal, who want it done now rather than getting more competition in the summer. The agent is actually the one holding up this deal. And that's great for Tottenham, because I tell you now, you don't want Arsenal to get him, because he is very, very good. But in terms of Tottenham, you do have a chance. You've got a lot of competition.
Two other players that I keep seeing we're being linked with, Jesse Lingard and Weston McKennie. Any chance of both of them in the summer?
I always see your name linked with Weston McKennie, and I've never heard it from anyone who I would trust. So, and think about it, he's always linked, even though the managers keep changing. And Paratici only joined this summer. So Weston McKennie, I don't know anything about. Lingard, Newcastle are in for him, and they're actually trying to do it. West Ham are trying to wait to get him for free in the summer. Lingard's thinking, I don't want another 6 months of not playing, and he's not going to play at Manchester United. And that makes me think that Tottenham could come in now and get him. And also, would he be interested in going in the summer to Tottenham? Well, yes, he would. Why wouldn't he be? West Ham are a big club. Tottenham are bigger. That's just a fact. You're both big clubs, but you are bigger. I don't think you're looking to sign him in this window. I think if you were to sign him, it would be in the summer, but he might be gone by then because Newcastle are really trying, and they really are trying.
Tom, are there any other players that Spurs are currently looking at either in this window or in the summer that we haven't mentioned so far?
No, the one that I was going to bring up was Kessie, but you've brought that up, and Vlahovic is on your radar. I still think, I know I've said it a million times now, but I really think that you will sign a centre back in this window, but I don't know who it is, and I'm surprised that there hasn't been more links. Can you even think of a centre back that you've been linked with in this window?
Stefan de Vrij.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be a good one, but he'll cost big money.
I don't think it would be in this window, though.
Okay, right. Okay, well, right. In that case, surely you have to keep either Roden or Tanganga. Surely.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, maybe only one of them will go, and if it's Tanganga that's going, maybe Roden stays.
Now, one big question I wanted to ask you, all about Harry Kane. Of course, last summer, the Harry Kane saga, it was all over Sky Sports the whole of the summer. Will he go to Manchester City or not? Now, of course, with the arrival of Antonio Conte, what do you think the future holds for Harry Kane beyond the summer? Will he be looking for a move away from Spurs again? Will he be pledging his future to Tottenham Hotspur under Antonio Conte and hope that we win trophies under the Italian boss?
I think he's staying. I don't think it matters what Harry Kane wants anymore. He did want to leave in the summer. Everybody knows that. I know a few Tottenham fans were maybe in denial, saying, "Oh, everyone's just making this up. He doesn't really want to go." He did. He really did want to go. He thought it was done. He thought that he could just, because of this gentleman's agreement, he felt that it was like, well, I've got this gentleman's agreement, so I'm gone. What he didn't realise, which is quite naive of him, is that he doesn't decide the transfer fee. The selling team, Tottenham, they decide the transfer fee. Tottenham are well within their rights to say, he's our best player, he's got a long contract, and he is worth X amount to us. So if you want him, this is how much he costs. Of course, that's fair enough. Why on earth? Like that's maybe what people didn't understand about the situation. Harry Kane doesn't make the transfer fee. The buying club, to a certain extent, they have to kind of accept what the selling team say. So that's why he didn't go. Tottenham were like, well, you can go, but this is the price. I don't think he's going anywhere, even if he wants to. And at this stage, I think he is happier under Conte. I think he sees. He's always said, "I want to win silverware, right? I want to be winning FA Cups. I want to be competing in the Champions League. I want to be challenging, if not winning, the Premier League." I think he sees a lot more of that, a lot more chance for that to happen under Conte now. But even if he does still want to go, I don't think he'll be allowed to. I really don't. I think he'll end up at Tottenham for life.
Yeah. Tom, when we think back to the days under Mauricio Pochettino, Jose Mourinho, now Antonio Conte, do you see success coming at Spurs in the near future, i.e. trophies? Because of course the last time we won a trophy was back in 2008, the League Cup, when we beat Chelsea. It seems like a long time ago.
Well, it is a long time ago, but I think that I think things are going to work out for Tottenham. I think having the director of football rather than just Daniel Levy doing it all is a good thing. Paratici knows his stuff, and when I mentioned, I think you'll want to tune in on Monday, by the way, because when I said that Roberto De Fanti's on the show, he's very good friends with Paratici. He knows everything that's going on at Tottenham, so I think it might be quite interesting for Tottenham fans to tune in at 1:00 on Monday on Sky Sports News for Transfer Talk. I think you've got a world-class head coach. You've got the basis of a very good team. You've got, like, I hate the debate of, is Harry Kane world-class? Yes, he is, definitely. I think you've got good players around him, but that needs to improve. Conte will know what he wants to do. I think him and Paratici are going to be on the same page. And when I said that Conte will want to put his stamp on it in 2 windows, and I've said it'll be difficult but realistic, if he can do that, I think you can be a real force. And I think it could be very exciting times for Tottenham. And I know none of you trust, or very few of you trust Daniel Levy. I think if he can just leave Conte and Paratici to do it, I think you've got a real chance of one, moving up the table, but crucially, winning some silverware as well.
Tom, are you confident that Spurs will finish in the top 4 this season?
That 4th place is wide open. And actually, given how far Chelsea have dropped off lately.
Yeah.
Third, it was a case of, right, well, there's definitely the top 3 and there's going to be 1 place. There might even be 2 places, maybe. I think you are. So who is there that could take? Let's say that Chelsea do. I think Chelsea will be in the top 3, right? So that means there's Arsenal, there's West Ham, and there's Manchester United. I'm not massively convinced about Rangnick. I think that things aren't. It's not a happy place at Manchester United at the moment. I think that I'm a Sunderland fan. We don't like David Moyes. I am not going to, purely, he did a terrible job at Sunderland. He's doing a brilliant job at West Ham. I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but I can't predict him to finish in the top 4 at West Ham. So I'm going to rule them out. I think it's between you and Arsenal. And that is, you've had those battles before. And at the last minute, it always tends to be Arsenal that nicks into it. So I think it's going to be between you and them. And I think you've got a better manager. So I'm going to say that you are going to pick them. I'm going to say that you're going to finish 4th.
Well, the Tottenham fans will love you saying that, Tom. I'll tell you, if we play our games in hand and we win them all, we'd be up to 2nd in the Premier League right now, which is absolutely mad.
Yeah.
Last question for you, Tom. Tottenham are playing Chelsea at Stamford Bridge tomorrow in the Premier League, 4:30. Now, how do you see that game going? Because, of course, in recent weeks, we played them both home and away in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Conte come out and said there's a real quality difference. All of us Spurs fans felt that there was a big quality difference. They've only won 1 game in 7. And as you say, they've dropped off of late. How do you see that game going tomorrow?
When Chelsea had a little blip, I thought it was just a little blip. But it's kept, it hasn't stopped yet. They will be favourites, and their squad is better than yours. That is true. Their squad is better than yours. Manager-wise, I think your manager is slightly better than them. I'm going to say, I don't think it's going to be Conte's first. He hasn't lost in the league for you, has he?
No, 9 games, 6 wins, 3 draws.
I think you're going to add another draw to that, and I'm going to surprise you here. I'm actually going to say 0-0.
0-0. Wow.
I'm going to say 0-0, and I think would you take that?
I've been predicting all week a 1-1 draw, and I would take it. But I'll tell you what, as a Spurs fan who goes home and away to every match, 1 win at Stamford Bridge in 30 years, it is a place I absolutely hate going to. And a couple of years ago when Dele Alli and Christian Eriksen scored for our 3-1 win, I tell you, it was one of the best days of supporting Spurs for me, because keep going to a stadium and getting very little at that stadium, it just felt great that day.
Well, I mean, at least the stadium you're going to is Stamford Bridge. As a Sunderland fan, I'm going to places like Accrington and not winning. So, I mean, Lincoln, you don't know you're born.
Well, when is Sunderland coming back to the Premier League, Tom? What's happened?
Oh, I think I'll be dead by then.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for all of your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and tell everyone where they can find you, and remind everyone about the show on Monday.
Yes, my pleasure. First of all, I've really enjoyed it, and I've not been to your new stadium yet. I really hoped that we were going to draw you in the Carabao Cup, but we drew Arsenal. I'd already been to that stadium, so it's a bit of a shame about that. But I'll be looking out for you. Good luck tomorrow. Good luck in finishing the top 4. I think you've got a real chance, like I said. For the rest of the window, Good Morning Transfers is 9 a.m. Transfer Talk is midday every weekday, apart from a Monday. So this Monday, it's 1 p.m. and that's when you're going to have some Tottenham insight from Roberto Di Fanti. So tune into that, please. And of course, deadline day, a week on Monday. Cannot wait. And I do hope for your sake that you are busy.
So do I. So do I. Fingers crossed. Tom, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody watching today's stream. I'll see you on the next one. Until then, come on, you Spurs.